Hello and welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Rugby League, episode 7, hosted by Conor and Shay. And today we're going to be going through all the first weekend's fixtures and then looking ahead to round 2 and of course the World Cup Challenge on Thursday. Shay, first weekend done. What are your initial thoughts on Super League and what this year is going to look like?
Good weekend, wasn't it? Some good games that went on. I thought the new boys showed themselves very well. Now Bradford were the only one that lost, but they still look like they could keep up for majority of parts, and they're still going to cause teams problems. I think obviously the new system that they've gone for, like the ruck system and all the penalties that we've seen, I think it's good. A lot of fans don't. There is going to be a lot of penalties in there, but it's one of those, isn't it? It speeds up the game. People have been crying out for that. Everyone watches the NRL and says, why is it so much different to Super League? And it's just the pure speed and intensity of the game. And once, I think it's just a fitness thing at the minute, hence why there's a lot of penalties and players getting used to it. To play that quick, it's literally end-to-end fitness in it. Fitness is key, but yeah, I think it's a good change, mate.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed this weekend. It just looks like the game's so much quicker. It's round 1, so you'd like to think they're sort of fitter than ever, but
yeah,
as you know, it's match fitness, and maybe we probably might not see sort of the fruits of all these new sort of changes that they've implemented until maybe sort of like a third into the season after the first few rounds, because I don't know about you, but I felt that some teams were a little bit undercooked this weekend. You know, you've got some teams that across the board were I impressed by any team thinking, yep, they're definitely going to be sort of the team to beat this year? Not really. I don't think there were any that massively stood out. But yeah, I think obviously eyes were on the new boys coming in, and they all gave a really good account of themselves, and only 2 out of the 3 managed to pick up the wins. But even Bradford, like you say, they put on a good show, didn't they, on Saturday night? So yeah, I think we'll get straight into it, mate. We'll sort of start in kind of chronological order, and we'll go with obviously the first game of the season. York City Knights played host to the champions Hull KR. I know you sort of watched that intently on Thursday night. What did you think of that game?
Yeah, it was a good game. Obviously shocked a lot of fans, but thought all round it was a good game. It was like just a typical first round game, that, and especially the first game. Hull KR's performance was pretty similar to what they tossed up against Castleford last year. They weren't really at the races, but it's not how you start to finish it. It's about how you finish it, I suppose, when it comes to the end of it. So, yeah, they'll take pointers away from that, but I don't think there's all majorly to worry about there with that. Obviously, York were G'd up for it. Atmosphere incredible. So
that was good to see, wasn't it? Obviously, a packed-out crowd, Thursday night game. Yeah, I just thought that was really good. That's one massive positive from this weekend. I don't think we've seen sort of attendance figures. It must be the highest attended sort of weekend of fixtures in a long time, if not ever. I would be interested to see that, because obviously there were some big crowds, especially some sellouts as well. But I thought that was just class to see. A place like York, I suppose it's just how they maintain that throughout the season. But yeah, definitely a good start for them. Obviously, major talking point, Mikey Lewis. Is he going to play on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think he will do. I wouldn't like to see him miss it because of that. All it was stupid, but it's been well documented by presenters that were on Sky that night. And
I think there's just been all FC fans that probably might.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's a stupid play knowing you've got that in the next week. By the rule book, it does hold a ban. So to do something like that is, and
what's he thinking?
I don't know, because it was just the way that obviously he tried saying, like, obviously when he got sent off, it was like that he did no wrong. He thought he'd done no wrong, so pretty stupid in that.
You can clearly see he's locked his leg out and sort of tied it up. I'm not saying that Harris didn't maybe make a play for it as well, and sort of as soon as he's felt the contact, he's sort of seen it and thought, hey, if I can throw his son down here. But 100% he's made contact with him, and like you say, it's not in.
He'll come back for all, but it was stupid. He fixed it up a lot last year. He's still got that edge to him, but he controlled it for all season last year. I
think there were a point that they made in commentary, either after the game or during it, saying that's the difference between sort of like world champion winning players and not, the stupidity of that. It can,
It cost them the game. It cost them the game when they went off, when obviously they were 2 tries ahead at that point, and obviously then they go score 1 try whilst he's off the field, and then obviously.
Do you think the KR fans thought that cost them the game?
I don't think they can disagree with it. Willie Peters thought that, so I'd be shocked if lot of care. It's hard to pinpoint one thing, but that once they got that try, then when Mikey Lewis was off, obviously York they could sniff a win. Then they're thinking they're on back foot here. And to be fair, it were a good end-to-end game. Like I said, there were a lot of penalties in that first game, and I feel like a lot of clubs and whatnot and players will have watched that and thought maybe. So there wasn't as much throughout the weekend, but there was still a high number of penalties. But yeah, I thought York deserved the win. Played better, a couple of standouts.
Few players rolling back years as well. Paul McShane, obviously he was a standout in that match, and to see him like this sort of ruck style play is really gonna sort of help him out. I think in these, he loves getting out of dummy half. He's always been really good at that, getting in behind the markers. So yeah, I think he could end up having a really good season, to say that at some point he were due to retire. So I just thought it was a really good win for York, a really good sort of stance in terms of these guys are not coming up and going to be any pushover. It's just whether it remains to sort of carry on throughout the season. It's a long season, and I think would it be fair to say that no one's kind of said the team's not good enough? But I think a lot of fans have sort of said the newly promoted teams, it's their depth more than anything.
It's just stamina to go for the full season. Like I say, I think the fitness is going to be tested this year, especially with that. I felt like every game that I watched the full game of this weekend, the fitter team won, and the ones that was on top won. Where the packs dominated a little bit more to get them on that front foot. I just felt like they was the ones that came out on top.
The pack's going to be massive in it, in terms of who's got the fittest and the most mobile pack. I mean, most outside backs and your hooker, if you like, are relatively similar in most teams now. A lot of fullbacks have gone down the same route as well, but it's them middles. Like, you've still got some middles playing in Super League that you won't be putting them. I'm not saying in an NRL team, because a lot of them won't get in them, but like some of them would be lucky to get Championship gear as well by the looks of it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go. The game's definitely going to change. Is it for the better? Who knows? The penalty count is a bit frustrating. Will it sort of clean itself up after a bit and teams get a bit wiser to it?
To be fair, I watched it against like Sasso Sue. You're not allowed to stand in the ruck anymore. You've got to make some sort of attempt to get out of that ruck. And if you're just going to stand there like that,
you're in the way.
That's not making a clear. And it's down to the referee's discretion. So as long as he thinks you've made a valuable effort to get out of the ruck, then it'll wave play on. We've seen it. It happened today at Cast. There were a lot of players in the ruck, but because they were trying to roll out or trying the best.
Actually move out of the way, yeah.
It was allowed to.
And I don't know about you, but I could hear the refs shouting at the players, telling them, and I get when obviously you've got a big crowd. I'm just using an example of a Hull Derby or a Saints Wigan, or it might even be a Leeds Bradford, but a big crowd and a lot of noise, and it is probably trickier for the players to hear, but
the players know what they have to do.
Yeah.
Pre-season, obviously all the match officials going on to every club, explain the changes. Everyone's cried out for this change. NRL's so much quicker, this, that and the other. And it is a lot quicker, and this will speed up our game. Once the penalty count comes down, once players get used to it, and once it's managed a lot better, then it will be a quicker game, and it'll be obviously less penalties than what we've seen this weekend.
So we were both wrong in this game, weren't we? Both predicted Hull to take a win, which I'm sure most others, I think I've seen somewhere on the Super League, with about 3% or something, actually said York, and that will probably miss clicking a button or something. So, fair play to York. Fantastic win to open up the campaign, and they'll be buzzing going into this week. And Applegarth can't fault it. They actually looked pretty well drilled as well, so I do dare say many people could have been sort of making predictions too early. But we always do, don't we? It's a bit of a stab in dark in it, a lot of them, and we don't really know until halfway through the season who's kind of going to see the season out for the top six and stuff. So who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But anyone stand out to you in particular in that match?
The prop Xavier Vata.
Oh yeah, so there's the good things about it.
Hingano is going to be a really good player for them as well. So them two were the main standouts, but I thought a lot of players. I thought Sam Wood had a good game after his triple time last year. These teams, I think everyone thought they were going to come up and maybe just not compete at all. They are going to compete. It's just whether they can go the distance and keep a fully fit squad. I've got no doubt if every team, it's easier said than done, keeps a fit squad out of the teams that have come up, they are still going to challenge these teams as we've seen this weekend. So it's just about how they can maintain that and keep going forward with it.
definitely. Moving on then to Friday night's early fixture, early kick-off. Bit of a strange one. Friday night, 7 o'clock, I think it kicked off.
6 o'clock.
But at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock kicked off, obviously nearly. Yeah, that's right, it finished just before the other matches, didn't it, on Friday. So 6 o'clock kick-off, looks like Giants went out early. It's not paid off. They're coming home with 0 points.
I think the weather hampered them.
That's obviously whether it's taking them by surprise or what. But
I know they haven't got in there in the mid of summer, but you'd still expect it to be handball, right? Wouldn't you? Don't get me wrong. I know it does. Obviously, when it rains over there over recent years, we have seen.
We've had like 3 days straight.
Yeah, we have seen it being a mud bath before, but the ball was barely rolling.
Yeah, it was tough. You could see when they were trying to throw the ball, even Huddersfield, in credit to them, they were trying to throw the ball about still, but even the passes were like watching slow motion.
Yeah.
I think in the end, how I saw it, Catalan were always on top throughout most of the game. Huddersfield had a couple of spells, but for a long period of the game, I didn't even see Huddersfield in Catalan's 20, 30. Every time they were kicking, Charlie Staines were catching ball on his 40. Yeah. And before you know it, Catalan were in their app. I thought Huddersfield did pretty well to sort of hold them to the amount of points what they did, to be honest. I think on another day could have quite easy a bit more. But yeah, they didn't look appalling, Huddersfield. Out of probably all the teams this weekend, they were maybe one who I was looking at thinking, I'm not too sure where you're going to finish, and I'm not too sure where you're getting wins from. Because they've got some good players still, some good players in that team, but you even forget about the likes of that Horsall that's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, George King's still there. You've got Tom Burgess. Wolford looked all right out of dummy half. But yeah, some Gagai as well. They've got some good players in there. Some players that are actually sort of playing decent rugby.
Yeah.
I think they are trying to throw the ball about, but he just want the conditions. George Flanagan, you predicted him obviously to have a big season. He started at fullback. But yeah, a lot of a few errors from him, to be fair. I don't know where Huddersfield go, but it would be unfair to judge on one round, but it didn't look great. You wouldn't be pleased if you were a Huddersfield fan, but it's a hard place to go in it. Catalan, I think teams are going to struggle there. On the flip side, I did think Catalan looked really strong. Like, they're just doing the basics really well. Yeah. Really strong players. Cruz Leeming looked good out of dummy half. As I've mentioned already, Charlie Staines, I thought, looked really solid at fullback, to say. Most of his time has actually been playing on the wing. Just some players as well, you forget, don't you? Mike Makinson carrying out a yardage. They had Josh Sim on the other wing, who's kind of come from nowhere, really, but he looked all right himself. And yeah, they've just got some good players across the board. I thought, just as we said earlier on a few podcasts, Lewis Dodd, I thought it looks like he's put a little bit of size on as well. He just seems to control the game really well, which is probably his best asset, I think. So, yeah, Catalan really strong. I think teams, like I say, will struggle going over there, especially in conditions like that. But, yeah, they just play the conditions really well. Kicking game really strong. And, yeah, I think teams will struggle over there this season. How they'll go on the road, who knows? But, yeah, Giants, not sure. Be interested to know some Huddersfield fans' take on Friday night. So, yeah, I think we both went, do we both go Catalan on that one?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, so I think point each for us on that one. But you went to the Lee game on Friday night, Lee and Leeds. So Lee came out victorious in that one. Was that what you were expecting?
Yeah, both predicted that one.
That was before we saw Leeds' sort of injury mini crisis before. Days before, but they still have the players there to put up a decent.
I don't think they missed Jake Conor massively. Brodikoff, he's not a kicker. There's not a standout part of his game. He's a runner of the ball. He likes to cause problems. He's not a kicker.
How did the young lad go? George Brown, is it? Are you coming in?
Yeah, he went really well. He's going to be
tough game to really come into.
Yeah, tough game, but he looked really well. Pretty much similar to how he did in pre-season. To be fair, run the ball a lot and things like that. But yeah, the massive thing that they were missing were getting themselves out with a decent kicking game. When you've got on the opposite side, you've got Lachlan Lamb with a pretty big left boot. So yeah, Lee deserved that win.
Bit of a feisty game, wasn't it? Apparently.
Yeah, they were Tessie Newman like getting stuck into each other a little bit. I think something happened there in a tackle in the first half, and it just came a few boiling points 2 or 3 times from that point. But Yeah, Leeds were actually on top for probably about the first 10, 15 minutes. They managed to grab. They didn't actually. This is where I think they lost the game, and this is where I sat in the stands personally. And this could look. People see it differently. They had around about 4 or 5 repeat sets on Lee's line, or definitely in Lee's half, and then they had 2 repeat sets on the line, and then they got a penalty and they took 2. I just thought it were. I don't want to come across too harsh on this, but I think it's a weak mentality.
Yeah, it's a bad move. But I've always thought that when you see teams and you think, especially when I've seen it before on some on 12 men as well. Yeah, 2 points.
I get Leeds. Obviously, they didn't have the greatest squad, but that was more of a reason for me to just run the ball and try to get a try, because you've took 2 points there, and if by you taking 2 points, A, it's a defensive move, and B, not only that means
Lee are seeing us. They can't see us. They can't see us.
Well, no,
scoring here.
What that says to me is they think it's going to be a close game. This, and I don't know. It's if Jake Connor's on the field, I just don't believe they take 2 there. And to be fair, if they had a fully fit squad, maybe they don't take 2. I just thought.
Well, they've had the penalties initially, and then they've still
obviously they were getting back to ones, set restarts, obviously ruck infringements, and then they must have.
So pendulum's in their favour at this point.
Yeah, I think it would have been about the fifth set. They had a couple. They managed to get all the way down there, and then I can't remember it before. It might have been a high tackle or offside or something like that, and they got the penalty. And they chose to take 2, which it's very easy to say. Obviously, it didn't work out. If they'd have won by 2, obviously I won't be sat here saying that. But obviously for me, that would just. I don't think that was ever going to be a close enough game to go for the 2, and I just think it would have been just a bit of a defensive move. That's all. But Lee deserved the win. He's not. There wasn't much to really report on that game. It would just more.
Do you think it was almost like a routine victory for them? Like it promised to be a really good game. Like, people shouting Leeds for league leaders this year as well. I know some of, like yourself, have said Lee for league leaders, but I sort of looked at it as like, could easily be a 50-50. It was only when I saw the squads that I thought, yeah, maybe Lee might take that, to be fair, especially with home advantage first game of the season. But
yeah, no, it were.
Did Mr. Beaumont put on a show?
Yeah, as always, yeah.
Can't fault that, can you?
No. There were a high attendance one as well. That it was another good game. It was just Lee just went through the motions with it, sort of thing, which were quite good to see actually, because they didn't try to force anything. Like I say, Leeds was on top for the first 10-15 minutes, and they didn't panic. They just carried on playing, and they managed to get the job done in the end.
Yeah, I think there's just some light things that are probably, as you say, I get it's first round at season, but that try just after half time's inexcusable. Taking the ball.
That doesn't help, but it is.
But does it?
Yeah, there was a few tries that was obviously due to their own errors, which it don't, especially scoring that
clean up them.
Yeah,
I suppose it's round 1. That's a point actually. I did think a lot of these fixtures, watching them, had sort of the remnants of a pre-season fixture. Yeah. That's how they looked. It's almost like they started for 5-10 minutes, like going hell for leather, and then errors start to creep in, penalties, as you say. Teams are kind of getting used to it. Players looking a little bit clunky. They want really much fluidity while they're in attack. Across the board, really, there were a lot of errors. I know weather's not been great either, which doesn't help. Bring on that summer rugby. But I know in that game, did you went for Lee? Definitely didn't.
No, I went. I think you did. Went for Lee.
I think I went Lee as well. I think we only split, didn't we, on the sixth game? So point each on that one as well. So that's 2 all there. And then moving on to what was classed as the main event fixture, I think, on Friday night on Sky Sports. So Warrington at home to Saints. Again, a lot of kind of, maybe some seeing Saints as, I think people are seeing them either 8th place or 2nd place. There's a lot of that sort of thing. There's no one saying anywhere near the bottom, but I think teams or fans are looking at it thinking, with the calibre of players that they've brought in and added, that something maybe special might happen, or equally, nothing might happen at all, and they're just in the same position they were last year. I watched this one, and I wasn't shocked that they were on the wrong side of a win on Friday night. However, I think it was like they were a bit shell-shocked at first.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. They came into the game. Warrington really went to town. Someone who I thought had a really good game with Toby King, who's probably due a good season as well. he were all over. He were in defence, he were in attack. He got the first try. It were a bit soft, I thought. He sort of bumped off a player, and then sort of momentum kind of took him over the line. But I expect probably more from Robertson on that side, sort of to save that try, really, considering some of the other try savers during that game. And this weekend, I just thought it were a little bit soft for him to fall over the line like he did. And I think that kind of like shocked him a little bit, because especially after that big win on the week before on Friday against Workington, they didn't really have to defend, and it makes you wonder. Warrington had more of a relatively closer game with Sheffield, and yeah, they looked the better team on the night. I will say that I did think that Saints they threw the ball around a lot better than they did last season. They were chanting their arm. There were a lot of short kickoffs, short dropouts. Paid off a couple of times. A few times they got the ball. They did a short dropout on one of them, and they ended up scoring pretty much on the second, 2 or 3 plays after it. But yeah, I think the talking point of that game was not looking good with Hastings, and Jack Wellesby looks like he could be out long term with a pretty nasty shoulder injury. Yeah. I think it's reported today that it's not good news. So yeah, I think Paul Roll is slightly concerned probably with that. However, I did think sort of Sailor, he were relatively quiet, but he found his way into the game, scored a really good try. He was more just like sort of pressure from kick chase and stuff like that, more effort area stuff from him in that game, nothing flash, but yeah, he took his try really well, and he set up the final try of the game as well, found a bit of space on the right edge. I just feel like they're creating space on the edge, and Warrington were jamming in, but then the wingers are not quick enough to get round them. Yeah, sometimes the wingers were in open space, and they were either getting caught or pushed into touch or cutting inside. Warrington must have been wetting themselves.
That's the beauty of having either a Lewis Murphy or a Owen Dagnall on up wins. I get Kyle Felt now, he's been through the years and he's in the back end of his career. He's not going to be sprinting away, is he, down the wing? So you know what you're going to get from him. He can finish in the corner when asked, and he can definitely do more than a good enough job, but you're obviously not going to. And then obviously on the other side, I'd personally go with either Murphy or Owen Dagnall, because I think you need that youthful speed.
I'd go with both of them on both wings. I'd go Dagnall on one, Murphy on the other. Yeah. I just think there's no substitute for pace, and especially given the game as well and how tight and jammed it can get in the middle now, I think space is going to be created, because as bodies are sort of, as you say, moving out of the way in the ruck and all the rest of it, naturally teams are having to jam in a little bit in the middle, and it's creating that space on the edge. And you've got to have fast players and for me, Cross and Felt just don't look quick enough to be playing on the wings. Yeah. I'll give it, they're relatively aggressive. Cross saved a try, but I don't know, it just, one of them Felt's really good when Saints are on the winning side of a victory, but when they're playing poorly, he seems to struggle and just can't get into the game.
It's a tough one for St Helens, because you go away to Catalan next week. You've just seen the condition that the Giants have had to play in. So you're probably already going into that being like, oh, it's going to be a bit of a tough game. Then on top of that,
they've got Lee on Friday.
Oh yeah, and
Lee after, but still, yeah.
So you've got 2 fixtures there that
really tough.
Lee's obviously always going to be a difficult fixture, and Lee over the last few years have always had the upper hand on yourself.
Yeah.
And then you go away to Catalan away next week, and John Wilkins' comments for me.
What do you think to them? What do you think to that?
He's clearly mates with Wellens and Percival. That's why he's made the statement. So,
was it the right place to talk about?
100% definitely not. But you know what Wilkins like when he's on Sky Sports, and
I suppose he's within his right to voice that.
I get he's annoyed with obviously his club's recent performances over the last year or whatever, and he's annoyed that things aren't going right. But at the same time, it's not something that should be aired, because I feel like this is what frustrates me about St Helens and some of the fans, maybe, like I've spoke about you before. You've lost against Warrington. You haven't. Hull KR have just lost against York, and you see Hull KR's comments on the social medias defending the club, defending the players, whereas you don't get that at St Helens. You've lost that game against Warrington. John Wilkins come out and decided to say that, so fans might have just been a little bit like, we've lost that one, we kick on. Them comments have come out. All the fans are now clubs done.
Disarray.
Clubs in a
well, fans would have had no idea about.
My crush has been the CEO in that place when you won the Real Club Challenge, when you won
Grand Finals,
you can't now come to me and say he's the problem. So Mike Rush has now left. Does that solve the problem? Absolutely not. The problem was your recruitment. You've never shifted players on quick enough. We're not privy to what's happened with Mark Percival. Did he get that contract? Did he sign it? And now that contract's gone missing, as Wilkins said. I'm not sure. No one knows that apart from either Percival or, well, Wilkins seems to think he knows it. But I just think, what a bad time to come out. You've sent the fans into a bit of a frenzy. What he doesn't realise is mounted pressure upon Paul Rowley, because they go to Lee. Lee, come to you guys. I don't expect you to win that game, and it's nothing to do with the fact Saints are good enough. It's the fact that I think Lee are going to beat you. And then you've got to then go away to Catalan. So you could be 3 games in there, and Paul Rowley has got enormous pressure on his hands there.
Yeah.
So, and where do you go from there? So it's one of those. It's a tough one with St Helens. I feel like last year there were a lot of pressure on Wellens. And did you finish 4th or 5th?
5th and end.
So listen, obviously, it's not where Saints should be or want to be, but it was just made out like the whole season was a massive failure, and I just don't believe it was. You got to the semi-final. It was always going to be a tough place to go to. Winter conditions down to obviously
playing the league lead.
Yeah, so
it was tough, wasn't it? And
it's one of those.
There's that expectation at the club, and that's great when a club can carry expectation like that. But like you say, I'm not relating them to the Man United of football and stuff, but it's the same thing, isn't it? Where you've got players that are past it that possibly should have been shifted before. You've got players that are maybe there that are not good enough, and then you've got some actually really, really good, strong players that would get in any team, but they're just not in the right team at this moment in time. But yeah, you sort of like get the impression like as Knowles left just in time, if things are potentially a worse spot for that club, but. I don't know. It could go either way because, as I say, it's the first round, and Hull KR, I'm sure their fans were really cheesed off. Didn't expect that, but them in their head have got one eye on that World Cup challenge. Yeah. No two ways about that.
100%.
Which we will come on to, but yeah, I just think Saints, they had a lot of the ball. In fairness, they lost the game 24-14. When you looked at what the game actually looked like, it were 4 tries to 3, and obviously the kicking didn't help. They've missed the kicks. Warrington have kicked all theirs, -1, and then they've got the penalty what they kicked. But that's one thing actually I did like, the shot clock on the kicking. So the kicking seemed to like not take forever. You know, before you used to conversion be on, right, I can get into the kitchen and make something to eat and then come back in by the time they'd finish kicking. But now, especially for someone like Sneyd, it takes literally an eternity to kick a ball.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good move, doing that there. But yeah, I think the jury's still out on Saints. If they come out and beat Lee next week, things will probably quickly change. It's like, oh, well, actually, rolly ball's working. We did see parts of rolly ball definitely in that game, but there were definitely some things where you sort of think, I think they're going to have to change the way they're playing certain aspects. Like, if they want to keep going for the short dropout, fair enough, but I don't think you can go for it all the time. You can't be doing a short dropout, say, against your Williams, your OKR, but it seemed to be that they were chancing a look. And at this point, when they were chasing the game, maybe that's why they were going for that. But just to touch on Warrington, I thought, yeah, they sort of went about business really well on Friday night. They were, overall, I'd say, the better team. I'd say marginally, because I think Saints had the fair share of possession of the ball as well. They made quite a few errors. Taylor Ray was obviously a standout for finding, obviously the ruck speed really helped. He did make a few mistakes himself, which probably will have been overlooked just because of his attacking skill in that game. And he threw a great ball for the Fulis try as well in the corner, which, could be interesting with Warrington. Maybe George Williams, he was saying after the game, they just want to be obviously better than last year. They're not making any unrealistic expectations of themselves. So, yeah, possibly. I'm not saying they could be there and thereabouts, but they're definitely not going to be where they were last year. I don't think that. So, yeah, you took that one. You said Warrington, so point for you, mate, on that one. Coming on then to Saturday, Hull FC and Bradford. We thought that possibly an upset could have been on the cards here. It was mentioned that potentially Bradford could turn up and have a dig. Thought maybe could Hull then just it'd either be a close game or they might run away with it. Yeah. For a period, Bradford looked like they were coming away with 2 points.
Yeah, the first half shocked me. Not in Bradford's performance. Bradford were always going to put a decent performance in. There were a lot of Bradford fans going over. And Bradford still got some decent players, so they can't be overlooked in that sense. But I just think I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not going to say anything too bad about Hull because a lot of other teams struggled this first round. I think we've seen that across the board. But yeah, Hull showed like massive glimpses. Like you look at to be fair, all the tries in the game. I just want to add as well. But unbelievable tries.
Bradford chucking the ball.
Really, it was a really good game to watch, and that was literally the definition of why these rule changes are being brought in. Yeah. It was end to end, and both teams had the ball. It seemed like pretty even possession wise. I don't recall the stats, but it seemed pretty even. And any time both teams were sort of shifting the ball or anything like that, it looked like they both could have scored at any point. So yeah, it were really good. I thought Will Price looked good, obviously really good in in attack and things like that. Obviously, you
saw a body today. You were holding a few parts of the body after a few tackles. I think his arm went, his shoulder went, his full went. But yeah,
good.
He's 100%. His career is going to be pantomime villain. You can see that he's. If he's playing for you, he's revving up the crowd. If he's playing against you, he's revving up the crowd. And yeah, I thought he looked really good, to be fair. He looked really sharp. A lot of their players did. I really liked Harvey Hill. I thought he had a really good game for them. Seems to be sort of like taking them really up the middle and going up that front bit.
Ligi South looked good as well.
Yeah.
Year out is, he's not old, but a year out at his age doing his ACL, some people can really struggle from that off. Or never even come back at all. We've seen it with younger players, let alone obviously Ligi South's north of 30 now, but I thought he were unbelievable, won the ball so hard, and he looked really good. But
I think the good thing, like Hull, have got some really good young players coming through. Obviously, there were Lytton playing, Lewis Martin, the Harvey Barron on the wing as well. He's a big body, very big body,
huge.
So yeah, they looked really good. To be fair, with a good few players coming in, like you say, like the likes of Harvey Hill from a Wigan background. You've got Joe Batchelor coming in from Certain background. He picked up a try, didn't he, from Will Price assist, I think. A little kick through. So yeah, I thought Hull. Yeah, probably a tough fixture in it. Like anyone that were playing the promoted teams in the first round, they were potential banana skins. I know we kind of joked about it last week that they could be causing upsets and things and whatnot. But genuinely, it's maybe playing a team up the top of the table is better for you early on because it's a bit of a free hit. These teams that have been playing the likes of Bradford, York, Toulouse, Cass, Huddersfield, the potential banana skins because the expectation is you're beating them.
You're going to win them.
But yeah, good to see the KC or MKM, should we call it, absolutely rocking on Saturday. A full Hull ground like that is really
16,500 in the end, which is massive for
really
just across it's good for Super League, let alone just obviously the whole teams as well. But yeah,
but we both went for Hull on that one, didn't we? So yeah, point each on there. And coming on to the late fixture, Saturday night, 8:00. Didn't see many couples at this one, so I don't think there were any Valentine's treats. I think they don't left by them. But really good. And I can't remember if I mentioned it on the last one, but as I say, they were giving tickets out to school kids and stuff and adults in for a tenner, which I thought were fantastic, getting more eyes on the game. That's what it's about, and we've talked about it as well. So really good to see a full one, especially considering Toulouse. I don't think they'll have brought many over, in fairness, will they? So, but unfortunately for the Trinity fans, they come out on the losing side, and yeah, it was a good tussle, to be fair, this match. Again, could have just gone either way. I did think, in fairness, I thought after half-time, Trinity will come out and maybe run away with this, and I did say I thought Trinity actually might have a really strong win on Saturday night, but Toulouse just kept turning up for each other. Scramble D, absolutely class, especially late on in the game as well. There were a few opportunities for Wakey to nick it, and yeah, they just defended really well. Key standout for me, Ollie Ashall.
Yeah, I've always liked him. I liked him down when he was down at Huddersfield. And he was great coming through when he was a young kid at Widnes as well. So
yeah, he had a few loan spells and in different places as well. I think what seems to have really found sort of home there, hasn't he?
Well, what hampered him was he was coming through at the same time Will Price was at the Giants. So obviously not. Well, I think they are. So Ollie Ashall-Ball's a little bit older than Will, but obviously Will was coming through when he was younger. Obviously, he was the next one, so obviously he had to pave way. But yeah, he's gone over there and just everyone loves him over there. He's always been touted, even when he was in the Championship, that was really good. And I think even he's been touted a few times to even come back over to Super League when Toulouse was in the Championship. But he stayed over there, and real live wire at the back in a.
Seems to have had a few injuries, so you just hope he stays injury free, like we've spoke about with all players. We've seen some early doors that have unfortunately managed to pick up some early injuries, which obviously ain't good. But hopefully for Ash Allbot, he can have a really good season. And the track, even when it dries up, he looks really sharp. I thought really good nick, to be fair. So I think Trinity fans will be disappointed. Obviously, they're looking at this campaign thinking, right, we're going to go one better than last year. They finished 6th last year. I think the Trinity fans will be really disappointed in that loss.
I think like I said, I didn't watch the full game. I did watch the extended highlights, but again, the tries that were scored were good tries. It were good for a neutral view, and so it seemed anyway. But
definitely a neutrals game that, and I thought that anyone who's watching it, they won't be able to pinpoint who were winning the game. But just a really good contest, and that's what you want. There weren't really any massive blowouts or any scorelines, were there? I mean, you sort of think first, match fitness, especially with the speed, the ruck, and everything that we've discussed. I don't think anyone scored over 30. Well, no one got into 30 points, I don't think, in the first weekend fixtures. So, good tussles all round, and I do think the Trinity fans, as we say, will be disappointed to lose. Class for them to get a win on the board straight away, similarly to York. Hopefully, it's one of many more, but it'll remain to be seen. Obviously, they'll get a home fixture, and it'll be interesting to see how they go. The main man we spoke about, Tyler Dupree, he were sort of in and around everything, especially late on. A few things. I think he got done for. Well, he didn't actually get thingies for it, but high tackle. It was really odd because I think with Cam Scott, he came in, got high. He'd been hit around the head. But then Trinity were treating him, but then the ref must have said it's a green card, or you're making a sub, or he's staying on. Like, what are you doing? And then he was like, ref, you can see ref saying to him, what are you doing? And he goes, right, he just went, right, it's a green card. So he had to go off. But I'm pretty sure you go off obviously for a few minutes on there, and then funnily enough, when you're watching the game, you're thinking, well, don't matter who you're sending on for him, but he didn't send a centre on for him. Where did Toulouse score 1 minute later? Exactly where exactly where Cam Scott would have been stood.
I think they need to be stricter on that. I think if a player stays down for any sort of
extended period,
which
it was,
head knocks or anything like that, then a decision needs to be made. But the problem is with something like the refereeing decision is just the inconsistencies. If you know it's the same every time, if you know, right, a player stayed down for longer than 2.5 minutes here, green card, like you've got to make an interchange, then you'd see a lot of players not bluffing anymore. Which we've seen a lot of last season. I haven't seen any really across the first round, but I'm sure we'll see it at some point. But cleaning up that sort of area of the game,
mainly it's the crushes in it and stuff like that. A lot were holding themselves down, weren't they, and just playing obviously for penalty, knowing that if they're literally bent over, they're going to get with penalty for it. There were a few early doors, but some of them were like they were winning the Saints Warrington on Friday, and it were a crush. It wasn't a bad one, but his head were in the wrong place, and he were obviously bent over, so it's fair enough. But you just need that sort of stuff cleaned up, don't you? I just feel like was that an issue for Wakefield, because as soon as he went off, he looked fine to stay on to me, and how he looked like he was going to stay on, but then he goes off. Toulouse then have the ball 1 minute later and score literally on his edge where he would have been, and you just can't help but feel like if that didn't happen, he didn't go off. Wakey still had the ball, he's still on the field.
But it's down to the physios to make the decision. Physio should be saying in the player what we're doing.
It seemed a bit of a farce.
But it does, because it happens all the time, especially with the head knocks. I see Michael Lewis. I think he got knocked out on that Thursday night game. But you could see, he knew he wasn't going off for an HIA, because if he did, and he you got to have a 10-day summit protocol now. So it's one of those. It's harsh. It seems harsh when the player's legitimately injured, but at the same time, we can't go on forever of people, just staying down. So
that's true. And then the last fixture of the weekend, Castleford Tigers played host to the Wigan Warriors. We mentioned there could have been an upset on the cards. It certainly looked that way early doors.
Yeah. No, on a serious, Castleford, I thought they were really good.
Were it sunny?
I was actually going to send you a picture because there were a moment for about 5 minutes in first half where James Play got so, and you seen Matt Pete like going like that when he was like watching out. So, but no, Castleford were really good.
Could have just stood sunnier for longer.
Yeah,
you never know.
And when I say Castleford were really good, it's just like compared to the last year, no one had them to beat Wigan this first round.
No.
I think they made a really good account of themselves. I thought the backs was for Castleford was so good. Ravwala, he did make a few errors, but coming out of back play, he's just so big, powerful, and strong. Darryl McIntosh, he got an assist as well. He was so good coming out of yardage. Brandon McDermott mentioned it as well in commentary, saying that he was really good and he had a really good game. I'm gonna mispronounce this, but it's Matala. You know, I'm on about the other centre.
Yeah.
Again, looked so good. And Gary, who surprised me.
How did he play?
He played, surprised me. But again, he was so good, Gary.
Yeah.
It just seemed like the backs really stood up for Castleford. And I do honestly just believe it with the forward pack that let them down a little bit. And not in a sense of they didn't work hard enough, because I think they did. Westerman came on off the bench, and again, thought he was really good. I think Castleford took more away from that game than Wigan do.
Yes.
There were a period, honestly, no, not joking, about 60 play the balls in Castleford's half. They must have had it for 15 minutes just on Castleford's line, and Castleford kept them out every single time. But Castleford made a few errors then coming out of yardage, which hampered them. And again, they scored. You won't have seen it just yet, but they scored just before half time. Wigan did. Which is always...
That's killer. Well, they're 10-6 up.
So it's always a killer. So that's taking it to 16-6. And then
the last thing you need that for half time. You're going in at 10-6. It's well, not to teach people to suck eggs, but you're going in different to 1 try to 2 tries, aren't you?
Yeah, and then Castleford kicked the ball to them to start the second half. I still don't know why they kicked to the left side, because you've got Patrick Mago there.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side,
Thompson.
No, young Ethan Havard. Yeah. Massive prop. It's still going to cause damage, but you've seen.
Yeah. It's the difference. Someone taking top players.
Mago's in the same bracket as Lasoni. You know, these sort of players. And SASA.
So they're picking bodies out. They're taking 3 or 4 bodies.
Yeah, they're
trying to skill them.
What's happened? They've kicked that side. He's run. He broke the line straight away. He was stood next to him, Jay Field.
Yeah, right.
He's gone down. To be fair, they managed to catch Jay Field on their own. On their own third. Well, Blake Taft made the tackle. Obviously, we're at full back.
How did he go, Blake Taft?
Yeah, really good. Again, it just looked like he can catch everything. And it was same when they played the trial game against Saints as well. Like, he's just so safe under the high ball, but he comes pinging out at full, like sprinting full pelt football, and you just see him go up and jump. He'll collect the ball. Half at time, his legs get taken out because he just puts his full body line. But I think the real positives for. So Wigan looked a bit clunky in attack, but again, it's only round 1. They still got the win. I think that was their main aim, just getting there.
They'll be glad to get away.
Yeah, get the 2 points and get away. But for Castleford, I think you even seen it. They scored in the who was it now? I can't remember who scored, but they scored in the last literally 30 seconds, and all the Cas fans just like obviously cheering.
Yeah,
it was quite good to see, because Cas fans had to go through a bit of a torrid time last year, didn't they? So. We're good for
I don't think no Cas fan would expect him to win today, will they?
No, there'll be a little bit of optimism, of course, there is when you support your own country.
Well, that's it. No, it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? So, but I think most in their heads would have said, I can't see us getting anything.
But no, yeah, I think they'll be happy with that. Renu for Tony was good in the middle.
Liam Mudd?
Yeah, Liam Mudd. Again, you know what you're getting from Liam Mudd. He's safe as houses in 8 and 9. He's a good 9. But I just thought, just the forwards, obviously, they just didn't have as big as packet, as Wigan. Wigan seemed to just steam it down the middle a little bit more. Like I say, it wasn't for the lack of trying for Castleford. It was just more matchmaking sort of thing. That sort of thing. But yeah, really impressed by Castleford actually, and I think they'll have a better. Well, it looks better than last year, but I think they will have a better season than last year.
Good to hear. Well, that rounds up round 1 fixtures and sort of how we went about. So we got a few obviously wrong there. We'll keep you up to date with the score lines and how we're progressing through the season.
They're 1 point ahead now.
1 point ahead, given you predicted the Warrington win over the Saints one. But yeah, obviously we've got the Toulouse one wrong.
Yeah.
And the one we both won with Wigan, didn't we?
And we both went, obviously.
So So moving on, I suppose, to round 2 fixture. Well, there's only 6 fixtures this weekend, plus so the World Cup Challenge. We'll come on to the World Cup Challenge first, do a quick kind of synopsis of what we think is going to sort of happen and our predictions maybe for that. Again, I think a lot of people won't even watch the NRL anymore, I don't think. But for us, obviously, that do watch it, and we know kind of like what Brisbane were like last year, and then obviously the ones that came over and played in the Aussie Test against England, they're coming over to play them, aren't they? What do you think straight away? Can KR beat Brisbane on Thursday night?
It's a tough one, isn't it? KR, obviously, a lot of people are going to look at it and be like, what KR fessed up against York? If they fess that up again, it's going to be an embarrassing scoreline.
Which they're not, either. They're going to play better.
That's what I mean. They're going to, every single player in that dressing room is going to be bang up for that game. And I won't like to say this, and I know, obviously, KR players will definitely say and think that they give it their all, in York. But like, was there a little bit of it? Like, I don't want to do too much.
Got to have been a little bit of that. You'd like to think the professionals are that they'll play the game and they play it to win it. So you can't discount that. Do I think they have an honest chance against Brisbane on Thursday night? No, they aren't going to play anywhere near as bad as what they did against York. But let's be right, you're not playing York again and beating them. You're playing Brisbane Broncos.
I think the biggest thing is for me, like, and JD touched on it, and I don't think, obviously people know how good he is, but like, he's genuinely the best player on the planet, and that's Reece Walsh. Like, what he can do, like we've seen it in the.
Did you hear about what he did against London?
Yeah, that's Jason Demetriou commented on it, saying the guy, he's a freak. He's only 23 years of age.
Nathan Cleary just said it on a podcast.
Yeah, he's literally the best. If he carries this up, even in front of if he plays out his career now and has another good career, he would be the best player that's ever played rugby league ever.
It's so interesting because when he came through at the Broncos and he's playing there, then he went over to the Warriors, and it was like you could see there were definitely a skill set there to be such a quality player. But no one really said out. I don't know if it's because he were very raw. States. But it's like he goes over to the Warriors, has a really good season there, and then he kind of comes back, and it's a bit like
we got offered first grade, didn't he? At New Zealand Warriors. Obviously, Brisbane at the time maybe thought. I think you were only 17, 18 at the time, so maybe Brisbane just thought, look, like, you're not ready. And listen, he thought he was. Went over to New Zealand Warriors, and he didn't do bad, did he? So being only like 18, 19 years of age, but yeah, He's the best player for me that I've ever. Don't get me wrong. I know people can look back and obviously it'd be more like your time watching NRL. Like your prime.
My tie.
Greg old now. Like the Greg English, primes and things like that. But like for me, Reece Walsh, 100% the best player I've seen play,
and his movement's just freakish, isn't it? Like how he moves across the field, right through the middle. I just feel like if he's in any form of space on Thursday night, you don't want to be okay. You can't help but match up players as well and just look across the teams. It is. I'm not saying it's a David Goliath thing. The only benefits are that they're on technically home turf. I know they're not in their own stadium, which I get it. It's a business thing as well. And this could be a once in a life, well, not lifetime, but could be in a once in a however many years for Hull KR. They need to make as much money from it as possible. But yeah, it's just, you can't help but feel, and I think someone mentioned it the other week, might have been John Wilkins, to be fair, like, is there not a thing of you want the Broncos going in the sheds at Hull KR's changing rooms and not KC's? Surely you want them in there, going through small routes, small ceilings, all the rest of it.
Well, the only thing is, a lot of them players, obviously, that are at Brisbane, they're internationals, aren't they? And they came over for the World Cup and whatnot, so they will have seen a lot of this.
Playing at Barrow on a bright, cold Friday night against Scotland or something, and it's just that in the one, is it?
Oh yeah.
Thing is, we're talking about one player there. They've got 16 other players that are all
100%.
Not all world class, but there's some very, very good players in that Brisbane team. And as it's been mentioned, James Graham were talking about it the other day. It's a big surprise, to be fair, that Payne Haas is looking to leave. He's gone on. He's a wooden spooner with Broncos, but also a grand final winner with the Broncos, and it's a crazy thing to think that he's seen that and he's got the chance now to make this dynasty with the Broncos, who have got a class team. They could go and do exactly the same as what Penrith did. But yeah, I thought the key was when I heard Nathan Cleary talking about Reece Walsh and how good he was and the freak he is, and like he just loves the game, like asks everything about the game. He wants to learn off the other players still. I just think Hull KR could be catching shadows on Thursday night. The only thing that will help is if it starts raining.
Yeah. Obviously, the cold.
You
don't like the cold. You can
have factor, innit? I know you go to places, but it's like when they go to Canberra or New Zealand and it's absolutely teaming it down. Teams do struggle. Over there, you can see it. They are fair weather.
If it's dry, I mean, to be fair, that's another problem though. That turf at the MKM, that's not going to churn up. Whereas it probably would at the Soul Groom, which, no disrespect, it would chew up a little bit. If that doesn't chew up there, you've got slick grass.
It's a footy pitch, isn't it?
Yeah, so I can't see how else apart from Hull KR.
What are we going then? If you go, let's go for a scoreline then in this one. I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go Brisbane by 24. I'm not gonna. I will put if you want an exact scoreline.
I'm gonna make a bit of a
36.
30 points to 6. Yeah. I think Hull KR don't even score. I think they don't even score a point. They might take 2 early doors.
I don't know.
I don't think Hull KR score a try.
Okay.
I just
no. I know, but we said it.
I just think again.
The problem, I know a lot of people say, about when Penrith came over in the pot, and obviously Wigan beat them, but I just feel like Hull KR fans probably won't like this, but I just feel like Wigan are Wigan.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
If Brisbane came, even if Brisbane were playing Wigan
teams,
obviously look at Wigan last year, and you look what Wigan wasn't overly great today against Cass, but if Brisbane were playing Wigan,
big games
on Thursday, it's just not the normal. You're talking this is the biggest game. Every single one of them players, I'm trying to think.
Possibly will ever play.
Yeah, every single one of them.
Let's be honest.
Especially young ones like Michael Lewis, and Jez Litton, your English homegrown lads that are, I know. Obviously, I know they played in Vegas as well, but this is the pinnacle, isn't it? You want to play against the best, and they're literally going to be playing against some of the best players in the world. So yeah,
I'd just think the occasion, like you say, could maybe overawe them, and I don't know. I'm not saying Brisbane will go and score 40.
Yeah,
but I feel like Hull KR could be on 0 at the end of that game.
Yeah, well,
I feel like it could be maybe a 20, 28, 30 something 0.
I think the first half is massive for Hull KR.
I'm not saying that then there's mass pressure on Willie Peters, but I think fans will start to think, right, if we don't pick up wins now, and if we don't get a win against Leeds in Vegas, and
we've got a bad because it's on
the start.
They go to Vegas, they have to fly back from Vegas with the time difference and that, because it will affect the players, fatigue and whatnot. You've just played 2 of the biggest games, with possibly ever seen, and then they've got to go to Huddersfield Giants. Now I know Hull KR fans won't be sat there thinking, Huddersfield Giants, what?
Yeah,
but that's a real banana skin that from when you've gone through all that.
It is, because the pressure's still on. The expectation is to go.
So you're expected then to go to Huddersfield Giants and win when your players really probably need a break and need a rest.
Yeah,
and we seen it with St Helens that time, and they did it. And we've seen it with Wigan before when you play the World Cup Challenge and then.
Like whether players like it or not, you cannot help but feel that they have got one eye on whatever's coming next. So whether that be Leeds are already thinking about that Vegas trip, I want to go on that Vegas trip. It's in time or whatever. I don't want to be playing against Cass or whatever. I'm seeing so on. These are professional players, but it has been said before, and players have come out afterwards, after retiring or during or whatever, saying that they were thinking about that trip to Australia or that trip to America now or wherever it might be, that international game that's coming up or grand final that's coming up. Week before Challenge Cup, why is it that half players get rested? Well, the coaches think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I reckon on Thursday night, they're looking at that York game, but I reckon to them they were still seeing it as a warm-up fixture. And obviously it came out, didn't it, that something had been said on it about an easy fixture, but I still don't understand the full thing with that. But
I don't just sound of course. I think a request was made for to have a look at the fixtures. The problem was they wanted the World Club Challenge.
Yeah.
Well, the hierarchy did for the money, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
They wanted to go to Vegas. I've got no sympathy.
Yeah.
I haven't got much sympathy for it. It's going to affect the players. Yeah. I can tell you that for sure. Whether it's
they've got a luxury problem, haven't they? That Vegas thing was already sorted. They've then gone and won. So it was sort of like, well, if we don't win, at least we've got this trip to Vegas. We do win. we've got the World Cup, we've got the World Cup Challenge, but now they've got 2 massive fixtures that are going to take so much juice out of them early doors. And then it's a case of, like anything, when you're on that high of going into these games, but then you've got to go to Gal Farm on a Sunday afternoon. They're 2 different things, aren't they? 2 completely different things. So, yeah, I think, as I say, without going through all the fixtures and stuff, it's a shame we won't be able to get any sort of pre-podcast just about the World Cup Challenge, but we wanted to obviously touch on it tonight and go through. That'll be interesting later on in the week when the squads come out and everything else, and who's missing out. Because does anyone from that 17 at UKR, did they play bad enough to miss out on the World Cup Challenge game? Or does he just go with the same team?
He's going to go with his 1 to 17. Whoever's available in that 1 to 17 is going to play.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I'm going to make that possibly a bold claim of I think they could get nilled. I don't want them to. I want the English team to win. I want UKR to win on Thursday night. I always think it's great for the game that, like anything, that you've got an English team that's winning. Because they never expect anything of us, do they? But no. I don't know. I think that Broncos team could just be far too strong. They've been here for a while now, and they've been here for a couple of weeks, or by the time the game comes round, they'll have been a couple of weeks.
It looks like Ashes, though, doesn't it? It looks like they're on holiday again.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But that's their way of sort of relaxing and whatever, then it seems to work for them. Sadly, I think UKR will be on the wrong side, and we'll be watching Brisbane take the World Cup Challenge home. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. And there's always an argument, I think, with the World Cup Challenge. Should it be at the end of the Super League season when your players are the same? Because you imagine if Warrior Hargreaves and McLaurin's part of that team. I'm not saying I fancy him to win, but something makes me think, I
think it'd be even worse, me.
Yeah.
Too old, too slow.
Well, yeah, possibly.
I just don't know. There's a reason why JWH came over to Super League. Obviously, at last payday would have helped, but it was just probably the simple fact of, you see it over there. The reason players come over there, and the reason they've started coming over younger. I just want to put this on record, because you see players come over like before 10 years ago. People come 30 north, they'd come to Super League. Now they're coming, sort of 27, 28, and we are getting a few young guys from the Q Cup and New South Wales Cup. The reason they're coming over at 27, 28 is because the game's too fast over there.
Yeah.
The game's too fast. The middles. Patrick Mago couldn't go back to the NRL. He's too big. Herman SES. There's a reason. There's a reason. These boys who don't get on.
The guy for Lee that were over. Wait, that's CU Manafani. Did he go to Lee? Or were he at Leeds? He went back. He ended up going back to Bulldogs or somewhere. Who were it?
Tom Malone.
We're at Tom Malone.
Went back to Bulldogs. Come back.
Yeah,
straight away.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's just when you've got players like that.
There's a reason.
Who seem to be doing okay over here. It just doesn't work out, does it? So, yeah, there's not many that do that, that sort of come over here, then end up managing to head back and have a good career out of it. I'm sure the last player that actually did that was probably Jamie Lyon, that came over here and went back and had a 10-year career in NRL afterwards. But, yeah, don't happen very often. But, yeah, good luck to UKR on Thursday night, and let's hope they can come away with a win and surprise most, because if we did a predictor out, I think other than UKR fans who have got that optimism and hope that we always say kills you, I think if we said, right, can you go with your heads, let's make a prediction, who wins UKR or Brisbane on Thursday night? I reckon 80% the same, Brisbane. But yeah, on to next week's fixtures. We won't go into detail too much because there's no squads released. We know there's a few teams carrying knocks and injuries. Some won't even be sort of released yet, and so I can imagine there's a few more injuries that have not been said. But Rhinos, they go and play York at home. I can't say anything.
At Rhinos?
At Rhinos. I think Leeds will win that. And I'm not saying comfortably, but I think Leeds will get a decent-ish win. I'm talking a 30-something, 6 or 10 win, something like that. I think
they'll win. I don't think they've got points in them.
I think York might get a little bit of humbling, but you saw Leeds more. Well, you saw more of Leeds than I did last weekend.
Yeah, I think they will win. They'll beat York.
Any bodies coming back?
Don't think so. Not the main bodies that they need.
What's the crack with Sevo?
I think he's
literally made all the last pre-season.
He's back.
All the last season. And then obviously he's now in pre-season again, but
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the exact crack with him. They'll win that game, but They've got no.
Maybe closer than
They still look a little bit flat in attack. I think just missing Jake Conor massively. That fluidity that he offers. I don't think they
haven't really got anyone sort of like coming into the team. I know that they reckon a lot to McCormack that's coming through. I don't know did he play on Friday night, McCormack? Don't know if he came off the bench or if he definitely played in that game against Widnes, and they rate him a lot, but they haven't really got many bodies sort of like coming through. Do you know, like your props and stuff that can actually come in and make a bit of a statement impact? I know they play like Nicholson, Watton and stuff on Friday, but sort of remains to be seen. I don't think he's going to come through and set the game alight, is he? When you've got players like Aledsky and stuff in there. So, yeah, I do think Rhinos will win. I think York, obviously after their good win this weekend, I do think they'll be on the wrong side of a victory. But, yeah, I think possibly maybe I'm going to go like 30 points to 10, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go Leeds as well, but I think it'd be 18-12.
Both Leeds then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also Friday night, we've got Bradford Bulls at home to Catalan Dragons. The BBC are going to be in town, Bad Boy Chiller crew.
We do.
Bringing it to the Odsal Stadium. I wouldn't mind have been at this one, but Friday night's going to be freezing. Might be worth a missing sort of open field in the dome over there. So, yeah, it could be an interesting one, this, because I know Catalan had a really good victory the other day, but we said before, didn't we, I don't think teams are going to like going to Odsal on a Friday night.
I think Bulls will win this one. That's my...
that could be a really interesting one, couldn't it? Because I think a lot have seen that Catalan win and thought, these are the supposed highlights. Well, it won't convince
They didn't run away with it or anything like that.
I felt that on a drier track,
it
could have been even more.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing, I suppose. They've had 2 games now. For Batley, they played in the Cup, which were a bogfest. Played at home in a bogfest, and then they go to Odsal that could potentially be the same.
Well, I think bogfest down there.
I think that's the only thing that might help them on Friday night. But yeah, I'm going to go with Catalan just because I watched the game on Friday. I did feel they looked a lot better. I think Bradford had a really good a really good performance on Saturday against Hull. The only thing with Bradford is I look at their team, and you look at the 17 that played on Saturday, and I'm thinking, if they get a few knocks, who's coming in?
Yeah.
Like, they haven't got many players sort of waiting for a place in, and, players that are going to come in and really step up. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Catalan on this one. I think Catalan will get a good win. I don't think it'll be convincing. I think it might be literally a try in it. But, yeah, I think Catalan will come away victorious. And the Bulls, sadly for them, will be 0-2. But, again, I think it'll be a kind of a proud performance from Bradford, and I'm sure the fans will be. I think for Bradford fans this year, as long as the team's performing, they might not get all the wins that they want them to get, but as long as the team's performing, I think the Bulls will be happy with that, because they can only grow after that, and hopefully they get the bigger investment, all the rest of it. But yeah, they will pick up wins along the way. I just don't think it'll be this weekend. Are you going to go Bradford?
I'm going to go Bradford, yeah.
Right, we'll split after game 2. I'm going to go Catalan for that one. And then the big one that we're going to on Friday night, so we'll be at this game, Saints against Lee. You've already sort of made an early prediction during our review saying you think Lee will win this one. Are you still standing by that?
Yeah, I don't see. Like I said, I don't bet on rugby anyway, but there's no way I'd be touching that game. Especially, no way I'd be touching Saints with a 10-foot barge pole. I just think Lee just got that togetherness and whatnot, and honestly, I just feel like John Wilkins' comments have just hampered them massively. You're playing at home now. If Lee get a couple early tries, like Lee could go into half-time winning 12-0, which is nothing. I just feel like there's going to be so many heads down. Your fans are going to be just on top of the players. And we've seen it last year. The players react to the fans as well, which doesn't happen. You've seen Jack Wellsby do it last year.
Yeah.
I just feel like at the minute...
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like at the minute, obviously... I've predicted Lee to go well, so obviously hence why I'm going to go for them to win anyway. But I just feel like if Lee was to get a couple early tries, I feel like the fans pass down the confidence to the players, and
you can feel the tension in the stadium. It happened a few times last year when we were there, and yeah, I can't really disagree with you. To be fair, I'm just interested. What do you think about the Saints' spine? Obviously, Wellsby looks like he's out long term. So, what do you think they do with the spine now?
To be fair, that's the only thing that does that. not sway me towards Saints, but makes me think they'll throw.
I know you really like Taylor, don't you? So you do you think he's
I really like him, but he's not a 6. I don't like him at 6. I like him at. He's a better fullback than Jack Wellsby, in my personal opinion. So it all comes down to personal opinion. He's a better fullback than Jack Wellsby. I think he's a better passer of the ball. I think he's faster, more agile, more lively. Not saying that obviously Jack Wellsby's not a good player, of course he is, but I think Tristan Saint, there's a reason why we're at Brisbane, there's a reason why we're at Dolphins, and both times played fullback. I think you put him in at 6 last year, hoping he was just going to be a Bevan French. Just hasn't panned out like that at all. He's not as good as Bevan French, but I think he's.
Does he play fullback then on Friday night?
Yeah, he's going to play fullback.
Who plays in the halves then?
Lomax and Hastings.
Interesting. Do you not think he brings Whitby in?
No. I don't think so. I don't think Whitby and Jackson Hastings do not complement each other at all.
No, I don't think they do either. I thought, in fairness, I know Hastings had his sin bin the other night. I thought he was actually one of the better players, to be fair, on the pitch for Saints. He was sort of organising it, and it sort of did look really sharp. Kicking game looked good to start with as well. I think it's like out with Hastings. I think when the team's on a roll, he's on a roll. When the team's on the back foot, he struggles to sort of find his way fully into the game, I think. And yeah, I felt for him a bit on Friday because it were kind of like he were the captain. He ended up being the captain, by the way. I don't know when we were talking about it. I think it was Hastings that captained, which I was quite surprised at because I did think it would possibly be one of the Saints stalwarts, if you like, even like a Jack Wellsby, someone that's been there for a while that might have took over. But yeah, I don't know. I really can't call this one. I can see completely why you think it would be Lee. Saints are either going to come back and really take screw, and I think they do what you say. I think they'll go Sailor, Lomax, Hastings, Clark. Clark were off the field for a long time, looked pretty sharp early doors, went off. Lomax came on at hooker. So does that mean Clark has to do 80? Did they bring Burns on the bench again, which I'm not sure is up to Super League standing, especially for Saints. But as I've said before, if we don't make them change on the wing, I guess
he's not changing Dion Cross or Carl Felt.
I
can guarantee you that right now. He's not changing them.
I think a lot of Saints fans will be agreeing for the fact of how many times Cross he was trying his heart out. You could tell, blooded face, throwing his weight about. He would up for every ball. He took so much ball up. He carried well, but in open space, we gave up so many opportunities. We'll have to go Lee in this one. I think if I'm being dead serious, I'm going to have to go Lee. I think again, part of me thinks, right, Friday night, they're at home. They looked really, obviously, they looked good. Not saying amazing against Cass, but they looked all right against Castleford. They looked really good in the cup. And then the other day, I don't know if they were just caught cold. Fact of the matter is, they scored one try less than Warrington. They did have a few tries disallowed as well. One of the Wellsby one I thought was ruled out. Unfortunately, I think, and I know a few people have said that the Worms were on double movement and then they were held up over the line. But yeah, I think, like you say, I think Lee have just got that little bit more kind of cohesiveness within the squad, and it never helps, does it, when you start hearing about rumbles from top to bottom, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Lee on that one, unfortunately, and we'll remain to see what then happens. But moving on to Saturday, Tigers away in Toulouse could be an interesting one. Toulouse on the back of a victory. Tigers, half decent performance, but unfortunately still a 0 points in the table for them. How do you see that one going?
Oh, it's a bit of a tough one, that one. I think what spurred Toulouse and Bradford off was the fact that York won. I think Bradford have been going into the game and lost as well, and then maybe Toulouse have gone to Wakefield. It'll definitely be a talking point before the game of being like, we need to get a winner here as well. York have won and whatnot, so I think they've gone into that game just full of, like, obviously, confidence and just wanting to play. I think Wake have maybe gone into that game just thinking, we're going to win. Unless Toulouse have got no fans over here. Yeah, we're going to win.
It all stood in favour for Wakey, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I think that was the biggest upset of the weekend. Cause I thought York had put a big challenge up, to be fair. And first game of the season, all kind of having one eye on that next round, obviously, with Brisbane on the Thursday night, only a week later. I actually think the Toulouse one was the biggest upset of the weekend.
Yeah, you can't argue with it. But I think back down to earth and Cass go over, and Castle get that win. I just think the backs compared to Toulouse's backs. I just thought they were so good today, and I just think I think they'll get the win. I actually thought Castleford played really well today, so I'm going to go Castleford winning that one by a decent amount as well. I'm going to Cass by 60.
I think notoriously Cass had never travelled well. Like Catalan, I don't think they've won many times in Catalan, if any. And then when Toulouse were in as well, I think they struggled when they played Toulouse away from home. I know Toulouse picked up a few wins last time they were in Super League at home, and we did count on it early doors when we did our preview to this season, and we spoke about if they were going to get any wins, it'd likely be at home. I hadn't seen Cass today, so I'd be calling a blind call against them and how they play, but I saw Toulouse play, and they did scramble really well. The players actually looked fit. Yeah. They actually looked really good shape, the players. They looked fit, they scrambled well. Wake, you were fed up in end, but they had the fair share of ball as well. They managed to get the ball, they got the ball back, they came out of yardage well, they kicked well. So yeah, I do think even though they have got a few champ players in there, I think they could end up picking up a second win here. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a big margin, but I think it could be a really close game, maybe like a 26-22, something like that, trying it. But I think Toulouse will pick up a second win at season, and like I say, they could be by that point in the weekend, they could be sort of the top out of the championship teams, if you like, which is what we did initially think anyway. So I'm going to go Toulouse in that one, mate. And then we move on to Wigan v Wigan v Hull FC, which I think could be one of the fixtures of the weekend. I think the Saints and Lee one's got a lot to it, but I think Wigan v Hull FC, Saturday evening, 8 o'clock. I'm quite liking these Saturday evening games.
Girls.
I think it could go either way, that one,
Oh, I didn't see enough from Hull for me to warrant them getting a win away at Wigan. I know to be fair, Hull FC have actually done all right. They've got a pretty good record, haven't they?
That's what I'm thinking. But, like, against Wigan at home and Wigan away, they go all right. They have been pumped a few times. But, again, if it sort of stands in their favour, possibly on a wet Saturday night, is that the sort of conditions Hull want? I'm not sure, Hull, I think, are going to throw the ball about a bit, so maybe they don't want a wet surface. But
I don't know. I didn't see enough from the lefty to warrant them going over there and winning. I'm going to go Wigan with that one.
I'm going to go Wigan just for home advantage. I think Wigan will pick up these sort of wins.
Yeah.
That was one thing last year. I think they struggled with the games what they should have been winning. I'm not saying Hull FC at home is an easy fixture, but that's a game that Wigan last year especially should have been thinking like we'll win that. And they did drop quite a lot of points from losing to teams at home or losing to teams away like Wakefield that they probably should have been beaten away from home. So I'm going to go with Wigan on that one. Again, I think it'll be close. I think there'll be a few points scored, but yeah, I do think Wigan come away with a victory on Saturday night. And then coming to our last fixture of the weekend, a classic, Giants v Wakefield Trinity.
Yeah.
First game for Huddersfield at home. You'll be going to that one, I'm sure. How do you see that one going? Do you think Giants can pick up a win?
Yeah, I do. I think Giants can win it. I think Wakefield, I think they've got too much pressure on from last year. I think they're massive. I know we spoke about it and said they didn't, but I look at it now on the wider picture and the players that they've brought in, don't get me wrong, obviously they brought in some good players, but they've still got a relatively same squad as last season. I think they won't be in the top 6 this year.
I don't think they will either, actually.
And I think they could get brought down to earth, which is quite sad because certain fans and things like that.
You want them to be contested.
Yeah, no, you'll be happy with it, but I honestly I can see them getting brought back down to earth, and maybe having a bad start could bring them back down. So hence why I'm going to go for a Giants win there. I just think looking at from the highlights that I've seen, the tries that Toulouse scored,
they were soft. Quite soft.
They were soft tries, and the only actual ball, the way he looked so lively, that's just going to suit George Flanagan down to absolute ground. As soon as he can get the ball out the back and he can get off, he's as dangerous as anyone. And I'm going to go with the Giants win there.
Yeah. I fancy Giants as well. I think they'll pick up a win at home. I think they'll pick up first win of the season. which is good for them because I think they're another team that they need to pick up a win early doors. Otherwise, questions are being asked to Luke Robinson. As I say, they didn't look great on Friday night, but it were a tough fixture. As I say, the conditions were shocking.
Yeah.
And once they were on the back foot, they went three tries to 1 down, and I just couldn't see them coming back into it. And once it went 4, I know they got a consolation as well. But yeah, I do think that Sunday afternoon they could end up picking up a relatively local fixture for both teams. But yeah, I just hope the Giants fans get down this year and back, because he's pumped money in year after year, Ken Davey, and given sort of the problems with Halifax that we've just found out in the recent week, I do think that Huddersfield need to really kick on now and start to build some momentum as a club, as a team. They've been putting some stuff on social media, aren't they? Like, we know some Giants fans, and they've been putting things on the websites, and this is the year things change, and we're going to be a part of it. They did reference we're not going to win every week, which is just realistic, I guess.
Yeah, I don't.
For any club.
Some were too disheartened with the Catalan one.
Yeah, that's a tough fixture.
And at the end of the day, if you do look at it on paper, Catalan's team compared to Giants' team, you know what I mean? Sometimes I've just got...
There was some star-studded players in Catalans, whereas Huddersfield, I'm not saying they haven't any stars, they've still got really strong players. As you say, George Flanagan's looking class coming through. He had a really good breakout season last year. They've still got players, Tui Lola here, looking well. They've got Zach Wolper, they've got Tom Berger, Greenwood, George King. They've got really good players across the squad. Is it an ageing one? Yeah, I think they've got players that are aging and probably past the best now, and that's the issue, isn't it? I know the link with Percival now. Potentially could they get that over the line, and does that improve their squad? I think as a named player,
as a squad, it improves it, but I don't think like...
does it on the field. We know what Percival's like. We're carrying a few knocks and niggles. I don't know, but again, we're not privy to the information of what's going on. But you'd like to think Giants have got their team formed for whatever the season we're going to be without having to pick a player up in round 1. Going into round 2 of the season. So yeah, both going Giants on that one. Yeah. Cool. So a couple of different ones on there. Obviously you thinking the Tigers, me thinking to lose. We've then gone with Bulls and Dragons. You've gone with the Bulls, now I've gone with the Dragons. The rest we've all gone the same. So we'll see what happens. It promises to be another big week of rugby league. Thursday night. How good is it seeing rugby league back Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday? 4 days a week we've got as dose of rugby league, and we hope today you enjoyed our episode 7. We did our review and our preview to round 2 fixtures, and of course the World Cup Challenge on Thursday. Shay's made his prediction, Hull KR to get beat. I've also predicted Brisbane to win, so we'll see what happens, but good luck to Hull KR on Thursday. I think they'll need it. Thanks again to Noble Coffee. All the best. Cheers.